Did the Badgers hit gold with some of the recent recruiting pickups, or is it a little bit of false gold? We got Brian Smith coming on. It's the BS Report. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for being here, being part of this community. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today we are talking Amari Latimer, Jaden Petitt, Petit and Legree. We got Brian Smith coming on, which I'm really excited about. We haven't had him on since these commits popped. I want to start with Amari Latimer, a player that you and I have talked about. You've seen him in person. He's been on my show. Love him. How big of a commitment is this for the Badgers?
He might be their best just raw football player in the last 5 years. I mean, he could probably play a half dozen spots. I'm sure he could play receiver or safety. He's obviously a tremendous running back. He's a kid that's just good at everything. I'd love to see him play like the nickel spot. He's very competitive. He's very smart. And he's got incredible vision. So the game that I went to, his team's got all kinds of players that are major college talents. But the game that I went to, he was the best player on the field, and there were a better part of 10 Division I guys there, and it wasn't close. His team is loaded, but he just took over the game. Everybody in the stadium knew that he was going to get the ball because he got a little bit of a lather up, and it was the most generic football ever. Right and left, kind of like Ron Dane stuff, just like, we're just going to switch which side he gets the ball. It's the same play, and they just couldn't stop it. And he got 4 yards, 5 yards. You were happy because most of the time it was 7, 8, 9, 10. And then every now and then he'd hit one for more than 10 yards, and he just grinded them into pulp. But the thing that's different about him from most backs that have some size is he has another gear. He can run away from guys when he wants. He doesn't always go full throttle because he doesn't have to just outrun most players. But like when you meet Amari, from the shoulders down, he looks like he's 25 years old. Like he's cut. He's got running backs build that you would see in the NFL, right around 200 pounds. And he's got enough shiftiness to make the first guy miss. It's all the things you look at. Then you look at him in the face, you're like, this kid's not old enough to vote. So that's the kind of player that can change games. Wisconsin doesn't normally get guys like this. The guy they got from a couple years ago from Maryland, I would say he's another layer up from him. The running back that got out of Maryland a couple years ago is pretty good.
Dylan Jones.
Yeah. I mean, not that Wisconsin's struggling recruiting running backs, but this guy, when you throw in the ability to catch the football, to block, to be in any kind of scheme, like right here, he's playing defense.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what he plays. You'll find a role for him in any school. I don't care if he went to Wisconsin, New Mexico, wherever. This is a kid that's got a great chance, barring injury. I mean, those moves right there are ridiculous, to play in the National Football League. So, yeah, if he went to Presbyterian, he'd find a way to the NFL Combine.
He just looks like the type of a back that Georgia gets, or Clemson, or Texas. He
100%.
That type of guy. Let me ask you this. What does it say nationally? Coming off a 5-win season when Wisconsin's able to go into Georgia, and this is a kid that had a Georgia offer, Texas offer, and land Amari Latimer. What does that say? Does that say anything? Is there something bigger to make out of this?
I'm not really sure yet. I need to go talk to him this fall to see what he says about it. Offers are a weird thing anymore because, like, Georgia's funky with their offers. Like, Kirby will take guys sometimes after an offer, and sometimes he won't. I don't know Texas that well, but they've made a major emphasis on recruiting Georgia and Florida lately, and they don't mess around anywhere with recruits. I think it's a good sign at the very least, but, like, even at the end, I don't know who came in number 2 for him, but he had a bunch of offers from the South in general. And I'll just be blunt. Most kids from the South are not going to go to northern part of the country, let alone all the way to Wisconsin, even if their next best offer is like South Carolina or something. If you got Georgia and Texas offers, that's never on the table. When was the last time they got a kid from the South with a Texas offer? Maybe never?
Nothing. Listen, I'll tell you this. Nothing springs to mind.
Yeah, I would lean on never. I mean, they just, like Georgia. I mean, they're not getting kids over Georgia. So maybe it's random, but you got to give the Badgers staff, their back office people, everybody some credit. Give Amari a little credit too. He looked at things a little differently. Just knowing where he's at and living about an hour and 20 minutes from where he does, I can tell you flat out, there is like little to no respect for Wisconsin football where he lives. So the community around him was probably like, what are you doing? They had to have done everything right as a staff to get him. I think it's pretty impressive. It's one of the bigger coups of the entire 26 recruiting cycle. Because like where he lives, if it's not SEC or maybe Clemson or Ohio State or Notre Dame or something, they have zero interest in talking about it at all. So it's pretty interesting that they even got him to take the OB. And again, they beat out elite programs for him. So it's a great fit. And I will be shocked if he's not. I think he'll beat out everybody by his sophomore year. Even guys I think are like Dupree's really good, and all those guys are good, but they're just not as good as him.
Who does he remind you of anybody?
There are a lot of running backs kind of similar. I don't think he's quite as fast. A little bit of Julius Jones. Trying to think like who would. Fred Taylor a little bit. I mean, that like all the little quick movements for a 200-pound back. Fred Taylor is probably the best comparison I could use. I mean, that's obviously a great player, but
yeah, there's younger people listening to the show who are like, I'm not, the younger crowd may not know how good Fred Taylor was. Fred Taylor was awesome.
Yeah.
What about Frank Gore? Like, do you see like some Frank Gore maybe there with a compact build?
Well, there's some of it. Gore was so good in the hole, he maximized every run. He didn't have a lot of speed, but he twisted and turned off everybody. And that's a little bit of what Amari does. He'll get the 4-yard run. Like that right there is the key. The backs that suck at making the first guy miss are always the ones that seem to run 10-3. It's worthless if you don't make the first guy miss. Amari doesn't run 10-3, but he's probably 10-8, 10-9, and he's 200 pounds of muscle. So I would imagine that as long as he continually, like right there, he just finds enough to get in that crack, and then he's going to fall forward. He fits what Bielema did 15 years ago at Wisconsin, probably about as well as anything. But the addition now, and I don't know what their offense is going to look like. I'm sure you guys are talking about that on Locked On Badgers. His ability to catch and block is probably the difference. I'm not saying Wisconsin's going to do this, but if they actually found a quarterback that was viable, what a day that would be. I mean, they finally recruited a couple. I mean, for the love of God, one of these guys has got to hit. Maybe they can actually go tempo because he can catch and block. You can wear teams down with that, and this is a thoroughbred. It'd be great to see Wisconsin finally have that ability because their offense has been so pedestrian because of the limitations at quarterback. I think this is the final year to kind of get over that hump. They'll start being pretty good at that spot, and then guys like this get more chances because you can't just put 7 and 8 in the box. Right now, it's pretty easy to game plan against their offense. It just is. But another year or so, and we're going to talk about some of the receivers, it's going to change. So good for Wisconsin. My question to you on him, have you heard anything like what was the difference for him picking? Because again, I haven't spoken to Amari since he committed. What was the reason he said he picked Wisconsin?
I know the running backs coach did an incredible job. The running backs coach there was a recruiting assistant, Coach Zilm, who did a phenomenal job with him. So I think relationships played a massive part here. They were in early. They did it the right way. And I mean, you do this more than I do, but we both talked to a lot of young athletes. Certain things just click with certain kids, and I think he was okay with forging a little different path. And then the recruiting assistants on staff did an incredible job there. I think it helped that they didn't take a running back last cycle and they're not taking another one this cycle. So there is a path there for probably quicker playing time as well.
I would imagine that's pretty massive. If you're a running back with his skills, you're probably not going to wait long. But he's a special talent. So good for him. Good for Wisconsin. We need a little more balance in the Big Ten. It is uber top heavy. Yeah. And guys like this can at least make it more challenging for the obvious 4 or 5 schools to not just run roughshod over the league. But this guy gives you a chance in any game. And if you can get in the fourth quarter, he can grind a team down into the dirt.
Man, love it. That is great stuff from somebody who's seen him in person. We're going to take a quick second here and come back. And we're going to talk about some of those receivers that Brian and I haven't had a chance to talk about. We got Legree and we got Petitt coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show and a quick second to say thank you everyone for tuning in to Locked On Badgers as always. Today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at Monarch Money. Monarch Money is incredible. It is a personal financial command center that is here to help you really manage your money better, which is going to help you reach those goals sooner in life. It's going to help you get to the spots that you want to get to a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. You can collaboratively plan with your significant other or your partner. That's something that my wife and I use this for. There's great charts and visual data to see exactly where your money's going, so you can spot those money leaks. Maybe a little too much money on sports cards or coffee or whatever it is. Monarch Money helps you see that, progress towards your goals, and manage your money cleaner, simpler, and easier. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a command center for all your finances, bringing everything into one spot. I use it. I love it. You will not regret it. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off of your first year. All right, let's jump back into this. I got a couple receivers that I am really excited to talk to Brian about. Let's start with the first one, the one that just committed, Jaden Petitt, 4-star receiver, big time target for the Badgers. You and I talked about it. The measurables are what you're looking at here: 6'4", big size, big hands. What do you think about Petitt watching him on film?
The first thing you notice is the frame, but I think the other thing with him is they use him in a different way than what most high schools do. Like on this play here, we're watching on film for those of you on YouTube, they put him in the slot. So I've been sitting here trying to figure out, where is he going to play for Wisconsin? Are they going to be one of those teams that moves guys around, or is he just going to be the big boundary? And he fits the boundary role. So I've been a little bit fixated on that, and good for his high school for moving him around. That'll help him develop as a college player for sure. But the other thing, I was a little bit surprised. He's a little bit faster than what I expected him to be. He plays lower level competition down in Southwest Florida, but like he dominates it like you would expect him to. But he's a little faster than I thought. I thought he was just going to be a jump ball guy only. He's a little twitchier. With those long legs, that's a good sign. My only other question is, how big does he get? Does he grow into a tight end? Because he is a big drink of water. And if he does, that's not a bad thing. A lot of guys have done that, end up getting paid a lot of money in the NFL. So I think Wisconsin found their best 1-2 punch receiver in a class, maybe in my lifetime. It's probably the spot they've recruited as poorly as any in my lifetime, is wide receiver. That's not a newsflash to any Badger fans, but this can change your program. Like, this is the best offensive skill class they've had in my life. I know that. They've never gotten these three guys in the same class. What the other kid we're going to talk about here in a second. I'm actually even higher on him than I am Petitt, but this is part of it. They've got a balance. They got a boundary guy. They got a flanker. They got a big-time guy at quarterback. They got a big-time guy at running back. They got all these guys in one class. Wisconsin never does that. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do in terms of the offense and how much they're able to throw it around when they want to, instead of because it's 3rd and 8 and they have to.
Yeah, let me ping you on Petitt a little bit more. The frame and the physical tools, is this the type of guy that can raise the ceiling? You know, if he hits, he's with the NFL type measurables almost. Is this the biggest upside guy they've gotten in a while, in your opinion?
Trying to think of somebody that's got more size than him they've had at receiver. There isn't anybody, is there? What was the last 6'4" guy they signed?
You can't think of it. Like Eugene Hilton was last year's class, but he's more 6'1". Yeah, they haven't brought in somebody with this size and the ability to run after the catch. One of the things you see on the film, he catches the ball. He's hard to bring down. He's pretty physical after the play. Now, you mentioned the level of competition. What is the level of competition here that we're looking at?
It depends on which teams they're playing. Southwest Florida is wild. The Naples, Fort Myers area, there are a handful of schools that are really good, but all the kids in Florida, they get together and they transfer to the same schools. It's all-star teams down there too, and there's not as much talent in Southwest Florida. Like Southeast Florida is insanity. That's where Miami, Fort Lauderdale is. So some of these kids have no chance to cover him. But at the same time, when I know that, the first thing I ask is, well, if you're better, are you down? Like that play there, he just dragged 4 guys. He made the first player miss. That's what you have to do. Everybody knows you're the better player. Now prove it. So it's just okay. He's not going to go up against guys down there that are any better than him. He's not going to play against any high-end, to my knowledge, corner in like the Naples area or anything this year. It is what it is, but he might in the playoff. You'll have to wait to the playoffs for him to have that kind of opportunity. Maybe they play one of the other schools from Fort Lauderdale or something, they'll probably get smashed. But that's the only time you're going to see it unless it's in an all-star game. He's just too big and fast for the area he's at.
Is there anything watching film where you look at it and you're just not sure of? And this is actually a question for him or Latimer. Anything on either of them you look at and you say, I would like to see a little bit more of that, or I have a question about this?
Latimer, I'm good. He's an NFL player. This kid, it's just a competition level. The biggest thing, and I talk to other recruiting analysts about this all the time, we hate it when physically dominant players play smaller competition because we don't know how they're going to react when things go bad. Like really bad. When your team gets beat 42-7 and they were double teaming you and you couldn't do much, some kids go in the tank, some kids turn on their teammates, etc. And we can't really report on it per se, but we hear about it from other people around the programs, this, that, and the other. He's not playing against teams like that are going to dominate him, to my knowledge. I don't know what the situation is where he's at this year, but there's nobody like in the greater Naples, Fort Myers area that's just unbelievable at the lower level, like 1-2A. Maybe his team makes a run or something, like I said, though, so we'll get to see more, but he just dominates. So that's the only question, is the level of competition.
Yeah, last question here. I almost feel like if you're Wisconsin, to get a guy that's 6'4", 6'3", that can run and jump and fight for yardage, you have to take somebody that is maybe at a lesser level of competition or that has some type of question, because if he was doing this at American Heritage, you wouldn't get him out of Florida.
You wouldn't get him to take the OV. Just
right,
being honest. That's true.
This is how you make with physical tools, right? At Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, this is what coaches always do, even at a program like Michigan or Miami or Florida or something like that. They take kids like this all the time. So this isn't like just Wisconsin taking a – go look at Petitt's offer list.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the ball of clay. If there's two things I know about coaches, is that they lie at press conferences and they all think they're the guy that can fix the kid. Those are the two things coaches do all the time. The kid that has a problem with technique, they all think they're the greatest guy ever at fixing it. And the guys that like this, that just dominate competition, there's question mark, they still think they can make it work. Most of that is still going to be between Petitt's ears. Like physically, there's no reason for him not to be an all Big Ten caliber player his senior year. There's not. But does he take to all the little things off the field, the diet, the training, not going out, not chasing girls, all that? That's all stuff that's social that really has zero to do with coaching. And that's why recruiting is so hard. We see kids all the time that have incredible talent. We're like, this kid will never make it. Because we can't talk about it as analysts because we looked at really mean to talk about that about 16, 17-year-olds. And I get it, but we're like, this kid's an idiot. We see kids like that all the time, even have more talent than this. And we're like, there's no way this kid's making it because of the people he's hanging out with, the things that he does. I haven't heard anything like that about Petitt. And for his offer list to be the way it was at that level of competition tells me that he's probably a pretty good kid off the field. So it's one thing to get those offers again at American Heritage. Getting it in Southwest Florida, it's not as common.
Yeah, and I've heard very good things about him. I had his trainer on the show, talked to some people. It sounds like a high character kid with some physical tools. And there's, like you said, there's just not a lot of 6'4" receivers running around in Madison. That's going to be a doorway to open playing time. If like to your point, if he takes advantage of it, if he puts the work in, and you never know. Like we've all seen at every program, players that should have a certain career arc and it doesn't happen because for whatever reason, they don't put in the work. They're not mentally ready. They're not locked in. They're surrounding people, whatever. We're going to take one more quick second. We're going to come back and talk about a receiver that Brian is super high on that helps round out this receiver class, also including Tayshawn Bardo, by the way, who Brian and I have talked about before. We're going to talk about Jaden Legree coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show. Quick second, as always, say thank you for tuning in. Brian, you and I were talking before the show on Legree a little bit. You're very high on the skill set here for Zion.
Yeah, he's a kid from the Panhandle. He's basically from Pensacola. I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I think he transferred to Niceville. Unless you're a Southern person, that's not going to mean anything to you. But there's a military base right there by that school, and they get the right kids. And that program has a bananas fan base, probably the best fan base in the state of Florida. And they got an all-star team this year. They'll make a run pretty deep into the playoffs. And he's always been a guy that we knew about, like as a sophomore, et cetera. He's one of those kids that looks like a boxer. He's physically put together. He plays for 24K 7-on-7 program. It's one of the best in the nation. And He's got the big, strong hands. Kind of like his playing style is a little bit more boundary in some ways because he's so powerful, but his frame says flanker. And I just think he's a guy you could move around. He could end up being a power slot at times. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's kind of the new thing. A lot of teams are using guys that are bigger, so put you in an awkward position with who you put in the slot. I'm curious to see with him as well. Like, he's more advanced than Petit technically, and he's played better competition. And playing like the elite level of 7-on-7, that's going to help. That's a kid that I think will play earlier than Petit personally. He's more advanced, and like physically, he's just strong as a bull. So I've seen him multiple times. I have very good faith that he's going to make a run at playing time, but before his end of his freshman year, they just got to find a way to get him involved with the playbook like anybody else. So if that takes place by his sophomore year, he'll be in the starting lineup.
Does it feel like he gets slept on a little bit? I know just among Badger fans, everyone is very, very excited about Petit and Latimer. And it felt like Legree kind of slipped through the cracks because maybe he doesn't have that gigantic frame that Petit has, or it feels like he's slept on a little bit here.
Oh, that's because of his size. Like, people just look at numbers. It's the lazy approach partially, but I think the bigger thing is like you have to see the kids live. I know a lot of people that don't go out and scout get mad at me saying that. One of my friends doesn't like that, but it's just true. It's different seeing kids live. The way he catches the ball, the way he acts, the way he handles coaching, all of those things combined, he's a guy that's going to make it. It's just a matter of whether or not he adjusts to like living up north, etc. He's a panhandle kid. I mean, there ain't much going on where he's at except for the beach. So I would imagine it'll be a big adjustment, just like these other kids going up north, but he knew it going in. He's got a tremendous relationship with the wide receiver coach at Wisconsin. I think wasn't he the guy that came over from Toledo, if I remember right, or one of those?
No, Eastern Michigan was Reed, Michigan
Okay.
school. I think it's Eastern. Yeah.
Anyway, that guy made him his first offer, and they built a relationship off that. I'm just going to say something I've said on your show 5 billion times. Kids pick coaches, not schools. I know Wisconsin fans and ever the fan base hate hearing that, but if that coach left after year one, the kid probably leave. Mm-hmm. Like, the kid's going to go where the coach goes. That's how this works. And he loves that guy. So I knew several months ago he was probably going to go to Wisconsin, like 4 or 5 months ago. But that took a while, and I'm sure he had to make sure he wanted to go all the way north. But Wisconsin fans are going to like this kid. They just got to figure out like where they want to play him, or again, are they going to move him around? He's got all the skill in the world.
I know you had mentioned that you have these two receivers on a similar tier, or maybe even a little higher in Legree. What is maybe he missing? What do you look at? Is it just size? Because he has the build. He's going to be physically ready. He's got coaching. He's done it against elite competition. Is he just a couple inches short? Which is where people are losing it a little bit?
Yeah, he's not 6'3" like Jeremiah Smith. It is what it is. He's not like a kid that's going to run 10.5. He'll run 11 to 10.9. But he's going to catch everything. He's going to be a guy that you're not going to out physical. And if he stacks you like he does on this play as we're watching here on Huddle, it's not going to be that competitive. Like, he's very strong and he's more advanced. I know the guy that's been his trainer, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he's a guy that understands some of the basic stuff for a college level, not high school level. And he does it consistently. I think he's just more technically sound, and that's more important than the size. A lot of guys that are 6'5" suck. This kid's not one of them. Like, he gets it because he takes the coaching. So, yeah, I know you want to look at measurables, but he could play safety, running back, receiver, whatever. He's a really good football player.
Let me ask you this. One of the things we talked about, shifting gears just kind of quickly, and then I'll let you go because you were jumping on in kind of late notice here, which I appreciate. We talked about Ryan Hopkins, the quarterback, going to Modern Day. And we said, man, that might be a tough commit to keep. What does it mean? It's got to be really helpful, right? When he looks at this class and he sees a Latimer and a Petit and a Legree and a Tayshaun Bardo and 2 tight ends as well in this class. That skill position wrapping around that quarterback is coming together really nicely for this 26 class for Wisconsin.
If it's not something that helps him, then Wisconsin took the wrong guy. Yeah. It's that simple. I mean, it's a lot easier to win when you have weapons all over and nobody can be concentrated on. Like, if the only receiver they got that was any good was Legree in this class, you just double him. That's it. I mean, it's a pretty open playbook on what you do defensively, but getting 3 guys that are quality players, That changes things. So now you got to stack classes. This has to be the norm at Wisconsin, or else you're just going to be going to low-level bowl games. The Big Ten is totally different now. You have to score a ton of points. You have to throw it around. I don't care what defense you have, you're going to get scored on. Like even Ohio State and Penn State, Michigan, like teams that have quarterbacks are going to score on them. Wisconsin's got to take that mentality as well. So they got to find a way to make a bowl game this year, keep all these kids and get Fickle off the hot seat. I'm sure you've had that discussion on your show a bunch, but that circulates a lot this time of year because there's nothing else to talk about. I heard somebody talking about it earlier today on a different podcast. They do that and the coaching staff stays where they're at. Wisconsin might actually start moving back up the list. This class could be the change because they needed the skill players, Ryan. Like they really, really did. They finally got them, man. They finally got them.
And you kind of answered this question. This is my last one, but you kind of went into it. If this is the receiving class that they get every year, some approximation of it, that's good enough, right? They have to stack this, but this is what they need to do. This is a passing grade for the receivers.
100%. Yeah, you can be competitive, like not trying to pick on them, but Michigan's not killing it at wide receiver. You know what I mean? The only school in the Big Ten that consistently recruits receiver well from the traditional league is Ohio State. And literally that is it. Of course, Oregon's, they're number 2 or 3 in the country, unfortunately, for Wisconsin, everybody else. Those 2 schools are the only ones that just kill it at receiver. Everybody else has got a couple of guys. Wisconsin could be competitive with anybody else week in and week out. And out of the old school Big Ten West programs, I highly doubt anybody's got a wide receiver class like this. Now, Nebraska's moving up, and they got Trey Taylor, by the way. You guys are going to hate him because he's going to carve you guys up. But they still got to prove it all around. But at least you're going to beat some of your rivals. With this kind of class, they can beat Minnesota, they can beat Iowa, et cetera, which is a great start. You guys have struggled in some of those rivalry games lately. This will help.
Love it, man. He is Brian Smith. This is the BS Report. Brian, as always, my brother, I appreciate you jumping on. Thank you for doing this last minute for me. For everyone listening on Wisconsin, we will definitely talk again later this week. A bunch of content coming up with media days and a few other guests. So we'll talk later on Wisconsin. Make sure you go check out Brian Smith's work over at the Portal. He had a show on Latimer. He breaks down recent recruits, portal movement, all sorts of stuff there. Always new content. Go check out what he's doing on Wisconsin, and we will talk to you later.